The Mariana Trench has a predator that breaks every biological rule. 7 miles beneath the surface of the Pacific, in a place darker than the far side of the moon, something is hunting, not swimming, not drifting, hunting. And by every rule biology has ever written about pressure, about cold, about the limits of flesh, it should not exist. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is over 16,000 pounds per square inch. That is the weight of roughly 100 adult elephants stacked onto a single fingertip. It is enough force to collapse steel, to shatter the hull of a submarine, or to crush any air-filled cavity into a memory. And yet, in that impossible dark, an animal moves with intention. It seeks, it strikes, and it feeds. More people have walked on the moon than have descended to the deepest floor of this trench. We know the surface of Mars in higher resolution than we know this predator's hunting grounds. And still, from the fragments we have pulled back grainy footage, torn tissue, chemistry, no laboratory expected, a single question keeps returning. How is it alive? To understand what breaks the rules, we first have to understand the rules themselves. And to understand the rules, we have to descend. The ocean is not one place. It is a stacked series of worlds, and each one is stranger than the one above it. At the surface, sunlight defines everything. Photosynthesis, warmth, color. This is the world we know, the thin blue skin of the planet where nearly all of life as we recognize it happens. It ends faster than most people realize. By 200 meters down, sunlight is already dying. The reds vanish first, then the oranges, then the yellows, until only a cold blue remains. This is the twilight zone. Fish here have enormous eyes to catch what little light survives. Many produce their own cold chemical light, stitched into their skin. It is beautiful. It is also a warning. Because past this point, light is no longer something the ocean provides. It is something creatures must manufacture themselves, or learn to live without. By 1,000 meters, the sun is a rumor. This is the midnight zone, and it holds more water than every continent above it combined. The temperature settles near freezing and does not move. The pressure is already 100 times what it is at the surface. A human here would not drown. A human here would be crushed before drowning could occur. And still, this is not the deep ocean. Not really. By 4,000 meters, we reach the abyss, the abyssal zone. Flat plains of pale sediment stretch for thousands of miles, undisturbed for millennia. The pressure is now 600 times surface pressure. Food is scarce. Everything that lives here lives on what falls from above the constant slow snowfall of dead plankton, fish scales, feces, the occasional carcass of something enormous, marine snow, a blizzard made of the dead. This is where a strange rule begins to bend the ordinary shape of life. Creatures here often grow larger than their shallow water relatives. It has a name: deep-sea gigantism. Isopods the size of house cats, amphipods the length of a hand, jellyfish trailing ribbons 10 meters long. Nobody is entirely certain why. The leading ideas involve slower metabolism, colder temperatures, delayed maturity, and the sheer stability of a world where nothing changes. But the truth is, we do not fully know. That phrase is going to return. We do not fully know. Remember it. It is not a failure of the script. It is the shape of the subject. Below the abyssal zone, past 6,000 meters, the ocean itself changes character. The seafloor cracks open. The Earth's crust folds against itself, plate against plate, and gouges a wound into the planet. These wounds are called trenches, and inside them lives a zone that does not exist anywhere else on Earth. The Hadal zone, named for Hades, the underworld. It exists only inside these trenches, and the deepest of them all is the Mariana, from 6,000 meters down to nearly 11,000 at the Challenger Deep. If you inverted Mount Everest and dropped it into that trench, its summit would still finish more than a mile short of the floor. Here, the rules do not simply bend, they start to break. The first thing that breaks is deep-sea gigantism itself. The larger an organism is, the more surface area the pressure has to act upon, and the more internal structures can fail. Past a certain depth, gigantism reverses. Animals shrink, bodies simplify, bones soften. shells thin. The Hadal Zone is not a kingdom of monsters. It is a kingdom of the barely possible. The Mariana snailfish is the deepest fish ever confirmed, filmed at more than 8,000 meters. It is small, pale, almost translucent, with no scales. Its body is a soft jelly, structured so that it does not resist the pressure, but equalizes with it. Above a few thousand meters, it would collapse. Down here, its softness is armor. There are amphipods, shrimp-like scavengers whose cell membranes are held together by chemical compounds that stop them from liquefying under the crushing weight. Some of them have been found with fragments of plastic inside their bodies. Down there, in the deepest place on Earth, there are xenophyophores, single-celled organisms as wide as a saucer, some of the largest single cells ever documented. They build structures out of sediment on the trench floor, and, in doing so, quietly become the architects of what little ecosystem the Hadal Zone possesses. And then, there is what we are here for, the predator that breaks the rules. Because in this zone of shrinking, of softening, of scavengers barely holding together, something hunts, something that should not. The candidate the deep-sea biology community keeps circling back to is a lineage of Hadal amphipod that does not behave like an amphipod. Ordinary amphipods scavenge. They wait for the dead to fall. They pick at whatever the abyss delivers. But specimens recovered from the deepest reaches of the Mariana show something else entirely. Enlarged mandibles, muscled swimming limbs, stomach contents that are not marine snow, stomach contents that are other amphipods. Fresh, whole, killed. And this is where the rules begin to fail one by one. Rule 1. Predators require energy. Hunting is expensive. It demands muscle, coordination, pursuit, strike. In a food-starved environment where every calorie must be earned from a slow rain of dead matter, predation should be uneconomical. It should not evolve. The math should not work. Rule 2. Vision is either useless or hyper-developed in the deep, and this creature has neither. It hunts blind, not with lures, not with bioluminescent bait, with something else, something we still argue about. Rule 3. Cellular machinery breaks under extreme pressure. Proteins unfold. Membranes stiffen, enzymes stop functioning. To survive, Hadal organisms rely on stabilizing molecules, a compound called trimethylamine N-oxide, or TMAO, chief among them. There is a ceiling on how much a body can hold. Above a certain concentration, the chemistry itself becomes toxic. That ceiling was calculated. That ceiling was published. That ceiling was supposed to sit right around 8,400 meters. The maximum theoretical depth for any vertebrate. The predator has been sampled below it, and still, we do not know how. Let this settle for a moment. A ceiling was drawn by chemistry, not by fear, not by folklore, by the physical limits of what a living cell can tolerate. And something on the floor of the Mariana Trench does not appear to have received the memo. The old picture of the Hadal Zone was simple. A graveyard, a basin, where the dead accumulate and the living merely endure. Slow scavengers, passive filter feeders, microbes chewing through sediment. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that could be called a hunter in any meaningful sense. This was the model for decades. It was reasonable. It fit what physics allowed. Then, the cracks began. In 2014, a research team lowered baited landers to the bottom of the Mariana. They expected the usual amphipods swarming the bait, snailfish arriving to feed on the amphipods, the modest food chain the Hadal Zone was known for. What they filmed instead was something the standard model did not predict. Amphipods attacking each other with a coordination that did not look like scavenging. Larger individuals striking smaller ones, tearing, consuming. Not opportunistic cannibalism at a carcass. Active predation in open water. Later expeditions confirmed the pattern. Tissue analysis showed the larger Hadal amphipods carrying an isotopic signature that did not match a diet of marine snow. It matched a diet of other amphipods, a predator's signature, in a place where predators were not supposed to be efficient enough to survive, and the depths kept extending. Specimens with these traits were recovered progressively deeper. 9,000 meters, 10,000, near the floor of the Challenger Deep itself, in water where the calculated pressure should have shut their proteins down entirely. The chemistry alone should have ended them. It did not. Samples returned to the surface revealed unusually high concentrations of TMAO, higher than any previously documented in a marine animal. But TMAO alone cannot fully explain the observations. Something else is stabilizing the cellular machinery, some additional class of compounds, some structural adaptation of the enzymes themselves. The current honest answer from the researchers who study these animals is that the full mechanism has not been isolated. It is being worked on. It is not yet solved. We do not fully know. This is where the false reveal wants to happen. This is where a lesser story would announce, with cinematic certainty, that the mystery is finished, that the code has been cracked, that science has explained the impossible predator of the deep. It has not. What we have is a growing list of things this animal appears to do that no organism at that depth is supposed to be able to do. Sustained hunting behavior in a calorie-poor environment, active predation without vision, cellular stability past the pressure ceiling, and a body plan that is neither the gigantism of the abyssal zone above it, nor the fragile softness of the snailfish that shares its neighborhood. Something in between, something new. The reversal is not that we have solved this. The reversal is that we were wrong about what the Hadal zone is. It was never just a graveyard. It was never just the place where the ocean's dead accumulate. Something inside it evolved to eat the living. And it did so, in defiance of what the surface world's chemistry said was permitted. This changes what the trench is. It also changes what trenches are. There are roughly 20 Hadal trenches on Earth. Most of them run along the tectonic seams of the Pacific, the Tonga, the Kermadec, the Philippine, the Kuril, Kamchatka, the Mariana. Each is isolated. Each is its own island of extreme depth, walled off from the others by the shallower abyssal plains between them, which means that whatever evolves inside one trench does so in genetic isolation from whatever evolves in the next. Each trench is a laboratory. Each trench has been running its own experiment for millions of years. The predator behavior seen in the Mariana amphipods has parallels in other trenches. Not identical species, not identical adaptations, but similar answers to the same impossible question. How do you hunt where hunting should not pay for itself? How do you build a body where bodies should not hold together? Convergent evolution. In the darkest laboratories on the planet, getting anywhere near these laboratories is close to impossible. The most advanced military submarines top out around 600 meters. To reach the Hadal zone, you need a purpose-built pressure hull, usually a titanium sphere, just large enough for 1 or 2 people, engineered to a tolerance that leaves no margin for error. A single flaw in the weld and the vessel does not leak. It implodes in milliseconds, before the occupants have time to register that anything has gone wrong. Fewer than 30 humans have ever reached the floor of the Challenger Deep. The first descent, in 1960, brought back almost no biological data. The vessel's window cracked under pressure during the descent, and the crew stayed at the bottom for only 20 minutes. Later missions in the 2010s carried better cameras, better sensors, better sampling equipment. They also brought back the first hard evidence that something was hunting down there. The first 4, the problem's tensis. Most of what we now know does not come from crude dives at all. It comes from landers, unmanned platforms dropped from the surface, sinking for hours in total darkness, resting on the trench floor with baited traps and cameras, and then, if everything works, releasing their ballast and rising back on their own. Many of them fail. Many of them are lost. The ones that return often bring only minutes of usable footage. Minutes are enough. Minutes have already broken the old picture. And still, the sampling density is almost nothing. Consider what that means. Every meaningful thing we know about the deepest predator on Earth has been reconstructed from a few dozen recovered specimens and a handful of hours of grainy video. Every generalization we make about Hadal biology rests on a data set that would embarrass a first-year field study anywhere else on the planet, which means the honest answer to almost every question about this predator is the same. We do not fully know. We do not know how large it can grow. We do not know how long it lives. We do not know how it locates prey in absolute darkness, chemical trails, pressure waves. some sense we have not yet named. We do not know whether the behavior we have filmed is the whole of what it does, or a fragment. We do not know if there is a larger version of it, deeper still, that our landers have not yet reached. We do not know how many more rules it is quietly breaking beneath the sediment, out of frame. What we do know is this: somewhere between 10 and 11,000 meters below the surface of the Pacific Ocean, in a place where the water is near freezing and the pressure would flatten a nuclear submarine, an animal is hunting other animals. It should not have the energy to do so. It should not have the chemistry to remain intact. It should not exist in the form it exists in, and it is not alone. Around it, xenophytophores build their sediment cathedrals. Snailfish drift through water they should collapse in. Amphipods carry plastic in their guts from a surface world they will never see. Microbes metabolize compounds no textbook fully accounts for. The Hadal zone is not the ocean's basement. It is the ocean's frontier, the last place on Earth where the rulebook is still being written by the organisms themselves, and the surface world is only beginning to read it. Astrobiologists have started paying attention. If life can hunt at 16,000 pounds per square inch, in perpetual darkness, at temperatures barely above freezing, on a food supply that should not sustain a predator, then the assumptions we have been making about which worlds can carry life may need to be revised. Europa, Enceladus, the pressurized oceans beneath the ice shells of moons we once considered dead. The predator of the Mariana Trench does not just change what we know about our own planet. It changes what we are willing to imagine about others. The trench itself keeps its secrets. It has been down there, cutting deeper into the crust for tens of millions of years. It will be there long after every research vessel above it has been scrapped, long after every lander has rusted on its floor. Whatever hunts inside it has been hunting for far longer than anything with a name has walked the surface, and we still do not know what it truly is. We do not know how it survives. We do not know how many more of them are down there. We do not fully know. Somewhere, in the deepest wound of the planet, in a dark older than mammals, older than trees, older than the shape of the continents above it, something is moving, something is feeding, something is breaking every biological rule we thought applied to a body of flesh. And the ocean, as it always has, refuses to tell us the rest.